to Grit Army, the full story. Okay, so guys, I have been trying to document my journey of Grit Army and building a brand, being a bootstrap business since the beginning. Well, I'll say the beginning. Pretty early on, once I actually kind of got established. So I did a video on, who Grit Army is and kind of why we got started. So you've probably already watched that video. If not, you can watch that video for a little bit more detail. But this video is going to be more about the journey, about the process of trying to build a brand and just trying to be a bootstrap business. So probably about 2 years ago, I'm about 2 years in, but I'm going to have some footage of earlier on, but to kind of give you a little bit of an intro, a little commentary kind of before where I started kind of in the process, like a little bit more detail for those that are interested again in building a brand and how I did it. I'm not saying it's the right way. I'm just saying this is the way I did it and just kind of learning. And honestly, that's something that I've come to learn with really all business owners and entrepreneurs. There's really not a cookie cutter approach like this is what you need to do. Everybody has different personalities. Everybody has different strengths. Everybody has different backgrounds, different resources, and people just start differently. So, I try to do some research kind of going in to figure out, what is the best route for me anyways. So I knew I wanted to build a brand right off the bat. It started with an idea of, it'd be kind of neat to have maybe like an Amazon product or something and just trying to like a little side hustle. But honestly, the more I thought about that, nothing really ever appealed to me. I just didn't want to ever sell anything that I wasn't passionate about. And that actually goes back to when I was a financial planner, how I struggled as a salesman because I just wasn't passionate about the products, about the financial plans that we as a company were selling. I did think they were of value to some people, but I honestly didn't think they were the value that we were asking for others. And honestly, I struggle with that. So I knew, me personally, I struggle with sales if I'm not passionate about it or if I don't believe in the product. So throw that to me just kind of wanting to have like a little side hustle. Because at the present, I'm a youth pastor. I've been in the ministry for over 10 years. And I'm very passionate about helping teenagers and spreading the news of Jesus. So that hasn't changed, but I've always had this entrepreneur spirit of just doing my own thing and having a business or having a brand or just being a business owner. And right out of college, I was doing financial planning, but I pretty early on got into real estate. I mean, going back to the history of my parents or my granddad and my dad, my granddad was a principal, and he owned a little convenience store, a little shop, and he owned a farm and land and just kind of kept accumulating. And then my dad was kind of similar. He was a sales manager for a company that sold agriculture equipment, but he also always had the farm and kind of a little side business, side hustle or whatever. And so I think part of that is where I got that from. And mine is a little different in the sense that I'm not passionate about farming. My granddad and my dad, they really enjoyed it. Now I enjoy the land. I enjoy cattle. I just didn't enjoy everything else that went along with farming. So I didn't have the desire to have that as a side hustle. That being said, I still own a good bit of land in Alabama, but I just lease out the pastures and rent the house out because I don't want to be a farmer. But again, I still had that desire to be the entrepreneur or kind of business owner and build something kind of for myself. So I started investing in rental property and had rental property. And then from there, kind of going into ministry, I kind of gave up all my rental business, essentially kept a few rental properties, but essentially gave up the rental business to go into full-time ministry. At the time of my dad passing away, it was just really a life change for me. I really felt God wanted me to do something else, something different, and that's where I got called to full-time ministry. So I went to seminary and got my master's of divinity, and then went full-time ministry, but again, still had the rental properties on the side because again, that entrepreneurial spirit, I still inside of me. But anyways, the transition, I've been down in Venice, Florida for 7 years. I've been, doing ministry down here. And honestly, I just haven't been doing much on the entrepreneurial side. And that's when that urge just kind of started coming back. And it's like it was restless, and I was wanting to do something, something else. And not to mention, I just felt like God was saying, hey, I got bigger things for you. I keep doing youth ministry, but, I've got bigger plans for you. You've got other potential, other opportunities. You just got to take advantage of it. You've got to, be better at your time management and do these other things. So that being said, I decided, okay, well, I do want to do something, but again, I didn't really know exactly what. Well, again, if you watched the other video, you saw where my wife and I signed up for an obstacle course race. I'd seen a commercial for one and thought, man, that looks awesome. I want to do that. But at that time, I really wasn't in as good a shape as I should have been. So I had to kind of get motivated and get something to get me back on track fitness-wise. Had to lose some weight, had to get some conditioning in. So anyways, I went and did this obstacle course race the following year. Not that specific one, though. Actually, it was a different one. But anyways, my wife and I did it, and it was like, man, this is fun. And honestly, I just love the environment. I love the people, and just the encouragement and that grit and just everything that was in that. And I just became almost addicting to be around that and to want to be a part of that. So anyways, kept doing that. My sons got involved in it, and they loved it too. So we've been doing it for a couple years. And then it just kind of dawned on me that I started thinking, there's some things some products or some gear that don't exist that I felt like should exist, or some products that existed, I just didn't feel like they were as good as they should have been. And so I was like, at first it started off as I wish that existed. Then it turned into, why not? Why not? Maybe this is the opportunity I've been looking for to create a brand, because I didn't want to create just a one-off product, to create a brand around this and have a bigger influence. Again, I felt like the whole business wasn't just about trying to make some money. It was a purpose-driven business. It had to have a goal or multiple goals, and it had to have some kind of cause that it was representing. And a few years before that, a couple years before that, I'd gone on a mission trip to the Dominican Republic. And while I was there with SCORE International, we went to a place called Emmanuel House. And guys, I'm telling you, it impacted me deeply when I saw these just extremely poor kids, literally having nothing. But this ministry opened up a school to them, because they were even so poor they couldn't even afford school, or they didn't have the right paperwork because maybe their parents were immigrants or whatever. So this ministry reached out to them to be able to educate them, and not just educate them, they were also teaching them the Word of God. They were also providing food and clothes and just really ministering to them in every capacity. And getting to go to that school and meet those people, and the ladies that were running the school and the guys that were running the school, they didn't have anything either, and they were sacrificing the little money and the little time that they had to make this happen for these kids. And I thought, man, I want to help them. I want to do something for them. And so I'd always had that in the back of my head. And so when I decided to create Grit Army, I thought, man, that's the cause that I want to support. I want to support this. I want to support Emmanuel House. So I dedicated 10% of the revenue there to the cause, to the proceeds to the cause, because that's what I want to support. Again, it wasn't about just me trying to make money. It was more about, I want to have a greater impact on the world. And so also, like I said in the other video, it was about just instilling this mindset of grit. Again, I really don't care so much about just trying to create a cool shirt or socks or whatever. It was, yes, I want to create something that of quality and of value, but I also want to promote a cause. So we had the cause of Emmanuel House, but I also wanted to promote something else. So that was that grit. and like to talk about, man, grit is one of those words that I just absolutely love. And I value grit and I value what it means. And I knew that it's so important to have grit in all aspects of life. You know, physically, if you want to reach your physical peak, you need to have grit. If it's spiritual, you need to have spiritual grit to persevere during tough times. Financially, emotionally, in education, every aspect of life you can benefit from grit. So I thought, man, I want to promote grit. I want to encourage it and promote it. And I want to have something when you put on, you feel inspired to work hard, extra hard, you know, because there's been some times in my life where I put something on and I felt more excited, you know, or I felt like, yeah, like I want to go get after it, or I want to do that. And so I wanted the products to be like that, right? Like when you put it on, you just felt more inspired, more encouraged, maybe better about yourself. So that's kind of what I was doing with the brand. I was like, I'm trying to create that atmosphere, try to create that energy or that excitement. So that's kind of been one of the other reasons kind of behind that. All right, so now let's back up to kind of some of the more details of building the brand. So once I had all that in mind, once I saw the opportunity, I thought, okay, well, that's the route I want to go. Well, then it took a while to figure out a name, because I wanted it to, again, have a name of purpose. So then the grit came on, and, you know, Grit Army kind of was actually a play off of just, you know, the word army in general as a group, as a unit that were moving forward towards a goal. So I thought Grit Army, you know, like a group of individuals, you know, that are encouraging one another, working towards the common goal of building grit or overcoming obstacles. And so that word worked for me. Along with the domain name was available. That was important to look up a couple things. One, search to make sure that name has not been trademarked, that it's available. So I searched it. It was available. Also looked for a domain to make sure that was available. It was available. I had to buy it, but it was relatively inexpensive. So I bought the domain name. And again, before I ever really wanted to launch the first product, I wanted to build out a good website. So I started trying to put some of my resources towards, you know, trying to build out a website. Well, in the meantime, I was actually working on a product that I just kind of kept running into obstacles with. And so I thought, man, maybe for my first product, I need to do something that I don't think I'm going to have as many obstacles coming across. And so I decided to come out with my own compression socks, because that was something that was big in the obstacle course racing community, in Spartan races and Tough Mudders, is having good compression socks that support and help prevent the cramping, but also protecting your legs from all the elements, the barbed wire, the rope climbs, all that. And so I'd been using a pair that was very popular at the time. And honestly, it was like the only brand I felt like anybody was ever using. And at first, I was pretty excited about that particular sock, because I thought it did a great job, until after about the third use. And then the hole in the heel started wearing out. And I thought, well, that stinks. I paid a lot of money for these socks, and I've only worn them on a handful of races, and now I've already worn through the socks. And I noticed other people kind of the same way. So I thought, I can do better. I can make something better. So I wanted to make a more durable sock, but I also wanted to have padding on the shin, because I also noticed when you're doing rope climbs that rope is hitting you in the shin, and you can burn the skin off, not to mention bruise. And then I also had done a few rope traverses where the rope kind of burns the back of your calf, and I thought, man, I want an extra strip of pad back there too, to protect, and to also just kind of protect the sock from burning a hole in it, but also an extra pad that prevents, you know, hurting your skin. And then another important feature was, you know, besides obviously having good compression that really helped with the cramping, but also wanted something that really, truly drained water fast. Because when you run through obstacles or obstacle courses where there's water, when you have soggy socks, man, it's not good. It's not fun. And a lot of the races, they put you through water at the beginning so that you are kind of miserable throughout. So I thought, man, I want some socks that don't retain much water and really drain fast. So what I started doing was I reached out to Alibaba, which is a website where you can find all sorts of manufacturers all over the world. United States, China, India, Japan, anywhere and everywhere. All sorts of manufacturers get on there and list. So my first thing was to try to go and find some really good sock manufacturers. So I started reaching out to all these different sock manufacturers, and I just started buying samples, like just seeing what they were like. So I started buying all these samples from all these different, some manufacturers I was buying multiple socks from them, multiple types of compression socks from them, and then others I was just reaching out to maybe find one sock from one. So I did this, and it's expensive buying samples, by the way. Like, you'd think they would just give you a sample. No, I mean they charge you a fortune. Like, a lot of times it could cost as much as $100 to just to get one pair of sample socks. That's just the way they do it. That's the way the business is. So anyways, I was spending all this money trying to get all these sample socks, and then I just started testing them. Like, I would work out in them. I would run races in them. I would purposely run in water with them, running on the beach with them. Just as much as I could, I was just using these things. And, some of them immediately, I was like, I don't like this. They don't feel good. I don't like the way they fit, or I don't think they're durable. And so I would just kind of weed through them, just kind of figuring out what I liked, what I didn't like. And then what I started doing was like, okay, I really like this particular feature. Like, maybe I like the cuff on this particular sock because I like the way it stays up. It doesn't fall down. Or, I like the features on this foot because it supports more around my toes, or there's more padding on the toes or more padding in the heel. And so once I started kind of doing that for a long time, months, and then I would start testing different material in my bathtub. I'd fill it up with water, and I would have a stopwatch, and I start timing and seeing what material drained better. But there obviously had to be a balance, because obviously I could have got pantyhose and poured water in pantyhose and it would have won the race, but that would have not been much support, very durable out there on races. So I was like, it's got to be a balance. It's got to be something durable, but something that drains water fast. So that was my goal, to find a sock, to create a sock that had all the features. And it took months and months and months of testing and tweaking. And so then what I would do is I'd go back to the manufacturer. I said, okay, I want this and this, and I want this to be this, and I want that to be that. And can you put this feature on this? Can you put extra padding here, or this quality? And so I kept going through that over and over and over. And then I'd get the sock and I would test it. I'd run a race to see how it went. And then I would either say, okay, these features work good, but this one doesn't. So what should I do? Or what can we do about this? And so it was a constant working back and forth with one particular manufacturer that I liked the best, that I felt like I had a good enough relationship. I liked the communication. They were very quick to respond. They were very willing to work with me and tweak things. And so I just really liked this particular manufacturer. The thing that stunk, and you'll come to find out if you haven't already, but if you're working with a manufacturer, and my manufacturer actually wound up being in Taiwan, but most of these companies are on the other side of the world. So, you may have a long day at work or whatever. I'm a youth pastor, so I'm at the church, pretty much all day long. And then, about 9 o'clock, my phone would start blowing up from, messages like WeChat or WhatsApp or, some of these other apps or emails, because that's, their morning and they're ready to start. So then, I may be on, chats and emails, and even sometimes phone calls with them for hours. It may, because the bad thing is, like, if you only do 1 or 2 emails, then you have to wait an entire day to get a response back, because by the time you get up in the morning, they're already gone to bed. So I was like, man, this process is going to take forever. And a lot of times too, sometimes there was a translation barrier where you were asking something, but they misinterpreted it, or they, didn't answer it the way you wanted it. And so it's like, oh my gosh. So then you may have to wait a whole nother day to get the answer. So that was a little frustrating, but that's just a learning curve, that you learn to ask questions a little more, spell it out a little bit more, make it a little bit more clear. And sometimes you have to limit, because they would get confused. They may answer one question, not a bunch. So you almost have to bullet it out. I found that helps, like not just a one paragraph full of a bunch, like even number them is actually what I find the best. Go 1, this is the first question. Number 2, here's the second question, so that they can go through line item as well and answer those questions. And then again, the wait time, like when they would ship socks, it would take a while, it'd take maybe a week or 2 to get the socks in and then test them. But anyway, so I finally, after that process, I'm telling you, it was months and months and months. It actually may have even been close to a year when I finally dialed in those first pair of high compression socks. But honestly, when I got it, I was like, dude, this is it. Like, I'm extremely pumped, extremely excited about them. But there was always this, what if? I mean, I like them and some of my friends liked them, but it's like, will the rest of the world like them? How will they really hold up over time? Because I'd run a couple races, but how will they do after 10 races? And what will more the professional athletes think of them? So anyways, once I finally got the product, of course you have to pay for it, and of course you have to buy in bulk, and then as far as like the logo, like I had to hire someone to create a logo for me. I kind of had an idea what I wanted. If you'll notice, this is the Spartan shield. I love the history of Sparta, of the movie The 300, and just those guys were tough, man. Those guys, they were grit. And when I started thinking about, what is a great representative of grit, I started thinking about not just the Spartan, but what specifically about the Spartan represented grit. And I started thinking about the shield, right? And why did I pick the shield? Well, legend has it anyway. History has it that the mothers would hand their shields to their sons to go out to battle. And they would tell them, you either come back with your shield or you come back on your shield. And I actually even have that on this sleeve. I have it in Greek as well. And what did that mean? Well, the shields were extremely heavy. So if you think about it, when you're in battle, and if you're losing the battle, or if you're going to retreat, you want to be as quick as you can. So the shield would be the very first thing that you would throw down so that you could run. Because if you're going to run, you probably don't need your shield, because you're hightailing it out of there. And that big old heavy shield's going to weigh you down. So the shield would be chunked to the side, and then they would just hightail it out of there. Well, the moms were like, no, you're not retreating. You're not retreating. You're either going to come back with your shield, meaning you came back in victory, or you're going to come back on your shield, meaning you died in battle, but you stayed and you fought. And I thought, man, that's pretty brutal, man. It's pretty strong to think, you're going to be determined no matter what to finish it. And that's what I think about when I think about grit a lot of times, is doing the hard stuff and persevering, never quitting, never surrendering, just keep going and keep going no matter how tough it is, no matter how much it hurts. You just keep going. And that's why I chose the shield to represent Grit Army, because I want to inspire people to not quit, to continue to push, to continue to persevere, and to continue to give it all you have, just like those Spartan warriors had to give it all they had. And that shield was a reminder that they were either going to die in battle or they were going to come back victorious. But they weren't quitting. That wasn't an option. And that, again, that's what I wanted the Grit Army to be. No quit. Don't quit. Keep pushing. Keep fighting. Even when you're tired, even when you're hurting, just don't give up. Don't surrender. So that is the story behind the logo. So back to what I was saying, kind of again, early on in the business. So you have to order a large quantity. So I had my logo, I had the brand, all that kind of stuff already created. So I had to order at least 300 of each size. So I did 3 different sizes to start with. And currently still I'm doing 3 sizes with the socks, with the high compression socks. I have a youth size, which is a kid size. And then I have a small, medium, and then a large XL. Of course, it would probably be ideal to have sizes specifically for all, like an extra small, a small, a medium, a large, XL, but now you have to do 300 per. And again, this is kind of a test for me, and I'm still a young bootstrap, meaning I don't have outside funding. I'm just using money that we have saved up as a family. So did an order of 900, got that placed, got that ordered, created some nice packaging. You know, created the little insert, had to have the insert made. I used like an online service to create the insert. They did a wonderful job. Again, I went with a little bit higher quality bag packaging because, again, I'm trying to do a premium product. I am doing a premium product. So I didn't want just little cheap bags. So that's what I did for my packaging. And went from there. Actually, I have a pair of socks that got returned from Amazon. Who would be returning my socks? Actually, it's a couple people. Sometimes they just don't fit right and they tear up the packaging, so Amazon can't take them back and resell them. And then sometimes it is because they just fit a little tight. But if you've never worn compression socks, then yeah, they feel a little tight. But if you've worn compression socks, true compression, you'll notice that they're tight. But that was one thing that I wanted to create. I wanted to create a specific compression that's not so tight that it's like medical grade, more of an athletic compression, which is a little less, and a graduated compression, meaning it's tighter, but then it releases as it goes up to help the blood circulate. So these are the socks, man. These are the high compression socks, my first ones. Again, I went with the red and black because I just like the color scheme. But there's the extra strip of padding in the back. I don't know if you can see on the front, it's black, but it is, see, you can kind of see there. There's extra strips on the front of padding to help with rope climbs and other things that press up against your shins. So that's the first sock. So got those ordered, and now you're about to see a clip of what happened when I first got my socks in. Enjoy. So my shipment came in yesterday. Got held up in customs for a few days, so it's about a week later than anticipated, but that's all right. I'm still kind of behind on doing some other things as far as getting my Amazon listing created, and still trying to get some of my videos done to get them on that website. So anyways, the boxes came in yesterday. I got to go through them, check everything out. Everything looked good. I actually have 6 of the boxes. I have 9 boxes. Each has 100 pair in them. I did a 300 of each size, a youth, a small, medium, and then a large XL. So anyways, I'm pretty excited. I finally got the shipment and got my shipping labels done. And now I'm headed to UPS to ship them to Amazon. They're being shipped to the North Carolina shipment center. So finally, the ball is moving and getting pretty close to finally getting to sell, getting to launch. It's been fun up to this point. I really wish I would have documented more of the journey before this point. It's been really fun, really exciting, and I've really just tried to soak it all in instead of just how we most of the time are just, it's all about getting to the destination. We forget about the journey, we forget about the ride, and just to absorb it and to have fun. And honestly, this has been fun, just learning about e-commerce and learning about selling on Amazon and creating my own brand and researching the products and sampling the products and tweaking them and going back and forth. Yeah, I've learned a ton, just from design to marketing to products and shipment and e-commerce business. And so that's been fun. I've enjoyed every little part of it, and I really haven't thought of this as work. I mean, I guess it has been hard work, quote unquote, but really it's just been more time and energy, because I really haven't seen it as work. It's just trying to juggle being a youth pastor and being a father and being a husband, and my kids are super active. So it's, we're pretty much at a baseball practice or a football practice or soccer practice or basketball practice pretty much every night of the week and all day on Saturday. So trying to find the time to work on it has been the biggest challenge. A lot of late nights, and get a little bit, 30 minutes here, an hour there. My off day spent doing it. So it's really just been more of managing my time and trying to figure out when to work on it. But I really haven't seen it as work. Honestly, it's been a lot of fun, and I'm not going into this like, oh, I've got to make a ton of money. It's not about the money. It really is not. It's just kind of about the journey, about the experience. I'm wanting to learn this. I want to create a brand that gives back, and so that's part of the whole reason for doing this, is to be able to help others, to be able to fill a need that I felt like was in the obstacle course racing community, and just even athletics in general. Some products that I wish existed that I went ahead and decided to create and hopefully brand it in a way that's more than just a product. It's a mentality, it's a attitude, it's a lifestyle. Trying to help create more grit and help people be grittier. That's one of those words that just, honestly, I felt like it's lost its meaning, and it's a word that I used to hear a lot growing up on a farm in Alabama, and now it's kind of resurfaced through the obstacle course racing community, and it's been good. It's brought back some memories of just hard work with my dad and my granddad on the farm, and made me think that I do feel like society today has become softer. Everything's easier, everything's with technology advancements and everything else, and I feel like we've lost a little bit of that grit. And so that's been the great thing about doing these obstacle course races. It's made me dig deep and become grittier in the sense of just physically and mentally, and overcoming obstacles in life in general. So that's been fun, and just trying to help create that in other people, because I feel like it's something that we all need. I need a lot more of it. I want my sons to have a lot more of it, and by doing this brand, that's what I hope to inspire others to get out there and just to get after it. Stop making excuses. We can make an excuse for everything, so just get out there and get after it, man. Like, who cares if we fail? Who cares if we fall short? Just see those as learning experiences, and get back up and just keep trying again and again and again. And it's not about competing against other people. It's really about being the best that you can possibly be, being your best version of you. God's created us all differently, with the different personalities, different skill sets, different talents and abilities. And it's really up to us to maximize that and to use it to His glory and to His honor. And I feel like we do ourselves injustice, and we do Him an injustice when we do not strive to be the best that we can possibly be. So anyways, I'm heading into UPS, like I said, and about to drop these off, get them to Amazon. So I'm super excited, and just there's 6 of the 9 boxes. I decided to hold back one box of each size. Just I'm not sure how fast they'll sell, so I don't want a bunch of inventory sitting around. And plus, it gives me a little bit of option to give out some socks and to do some other things with some of my samples. So anyways, that concludes this little clip, and I'll be doing some more to kind of help document the journey along the way. So